know this is a bit of a generic question, but I'd love y'all's take on it because you're confused. What makes this so chilling? Because when you're going through the site, it's almost like we have our own fears, and I need to scare something confusing. But what will make this so chilling to the broader audience?
It's funny, my answer is actually close to what you're talking about because, again, this is about a long journey into the part of space where people haven't gone before.
Yep.
And everybody's trapped on a spaceship. And so, again, if you're doing horror, where's the horror going to come from? Well, we obviously have some external forces that we're going to apply to it. But the real tricky, scary stuff comes from the baggage that people brought with them. Because, nothing can scare you if you don't have some flaws to exploit. And so the 10-episode journey is about all those sort of flaws being exploited different ways at different times.
Well, and there's a great hint of it in what you saw on screen. You see Owen's character with his daughter, and then you see the daughter later on the ship. And that's just a hint of what happens. But clearly, he's left his family behind, and now he's on the spaceship heading into the void, and sort of the baggage he has with his daughter is sort of being realized psychologically in horror on the ship.
So do we learn a lot of the characters' backstories to play through?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a really cool element that's not in the book so much. Well, I guess it is in the book, but we have a memory pod where people can go in and sort of, I don't know if you've ever seen, I'm sure you've seen Sunshine. There's a room where people go to sort of get grounded and decompress. We have a version of that with the memory pod where you can kind of...
It's sort of a horror version now.
Well, it becomes a horror version, but that's our way of sort of getting off the ship in a psychological way.
But this is obviously a science fiction show and a horror show. But
yeah.
Do you, when you're not just pitching it but making it, do you view it yourself as making a space opera or making something entirely different?
I mean, for us, we're super character driven. So, and we're a good counterbalance to Jeff. Jeff is bananas, and he writes a lot of, crazy psychological stuff. And our tendency is always to find a way to ground it and make it emotionally relatable. So, we've never done horror before. And we've done some sci-fi working with Doug on movies like Edge of Tomorrow, which is super grounded. And that's been our whole approach here. So a space opera was never our goal. It was always grounded psychological horror.
Yeah, we've had to pay attention to the horror because it's a core thing, but more than anything else, we day to day when we show up, it's a character drama.
And we brought in people who are horror experts. I mean, the thing that we learned when we're putting the show together is there's a real science to horror. A real specific science, and there's people who really understand it, and there's people who don't. Yeah. And I think we got some people on board who really, really understand it.
Building anticipation in really, really specific ways. Surprising people with no anticipation in really, really specific ways. We're now, I think, well educated in the sort of the art, but it was new to us.
Yeah. Well, and it's great because that first trailer you saw, there's no dialogue. I mean, she leaves her message, but it's chilling. It's just a terrifying scene. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was just having fun too.
And that's funny because, like you said, you mentioned The Shining, and if I remember correctly, they also talked about 2001. They talked about Alien. I also flash back to Event Horizon, especially with the daughter, because I remember that character and kept seeing their sick child and all of that. And it's this is
and it was space horror.
Right.
Yeah.
This is more psychological than supernatural horror.
Yes.
Because the 80s film had kind of that, what exactly is going on? This very much tells you.
Yeah, it's coming out of your head. Yeah.
Scarier than anything.
Exactly. And the 2001 aspect is one of those things that we've been holding back and talking about because we don't want to spoil it for people. But in the same way that Hal is an influence in 2001, there's an aspect of that is revealed in the series that's really one of the main drivers of the show. mean,
we were just saying the nature of the material, I think, made it easier. I mean, obviously, what's hard is the bar that's been set for material related to George. But the novella is 100 pages, and we essentially mapped out a season's worth of television, out of 100 pages of a book. You're going to take some liberties. So there's no way to pull every detail from 100 pages. So that's liberating. The intimidating part is
it's what the audience
what's come before us,
yeah.
the expectations.
But I mean, we also don't have to be religious about following a multi-book series that's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. So that part made it easier.
But do you see any similarities in just the emphasis on human psychology, in this case fear, in a fantastical scenario?
Absolutely.
For sure, and also like big characters. Like George doesn't write a character. It was like internal and small. Like even the characters that he thinks are internal and small have big personalities.
And that's fun.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
I'd love to talk about you were talking about the set and some of the actors before and how it's not CGI, like the spaceship is the spaceship.
Yeah, we built a big ship.
You also discussed, like, you learned a lot with classic horror, and in a lot of good classic horror, there's not a lot of special effects.
Yeah.
It's the way you shoot it, the realistic sets. So was that something you really wanted to say from the beginning? Like, hey, we want to make sure that we keep those elements to the show.
Yeah, I think it's hard to. I don't know. Maybe it's because we hadn't done that much horror before.
Yeah.
It was less intimidating for us to think about scaring people with like well-designed shots and like character sequences than it was with visual effects, because I think that's even harder.